Everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Confidence Connection Show, where we share women's stories of confidence from all around the world to empower you to build your confidence too. This week, I am joined by the beautiful Louisa Pateman, coming to us live all the way from Australia. She's the Australian author of Single Again and Again and Again. What do you do when life doesn't go to plan? She is a successful career woman and loves to travel, having been to over 70 countries. I'm very jealous of that. Louisa wrote her memoir following her unsuccessful 20-year pursuit of her happily ever after. For years, she tried hard to fulfill her life plan, the path that was set for her by society to find her soulmate, get married, and have children. But after a dozen failed relationships and a biological clock that was ticking and about to expire, she had to concede defeat and give up her dreams of finding the one. But in order to salvage her last remaining chance of motherhood, at 37, she embarked on a journey to become a single mother by choice. Turned out to be the best decision of her life. So welcome, Louisa. Thank you for joining
Thanks,
us. I'm so
Bronte.
excited to hear more about your story. Do you want to tell us a bit more about yourself and your background and how you got to be where you are today?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Bronte, and thanks for having me on the podcast. It's
Well,
great to be here. And so, yeah, look, I guess like most young girls, I read fairy tales, and had my family read me fairy tales, and you watch them on TV, and you watch the Disney stories, and I guess I had this notion of happily ever after. So every young girl finds their man, their soulmate, the one, and they get rescued, I guess, and then they fall in love and live happily ever after. And when I was a child, that was always the case. So as much as reality kicks in, it's still in the back of your mind, and it's still, yes, that's my life plan, if you like. And so I had some really sweet girlfriends when I was growing up, which was lovely, and they are still my friends now, 35 years later, so that's brilliant. And so as we got into our teens and we started, finding boys and started dating, I guess, as we were getting older, as much as that was fun and, you're living in the moment, it's still in the back of my head. I had this notion that, I would find the one and settle down and get married. And so when I was quite young, we kind of just made this life plan that was like, okay, well, I want to get married by the time I'm in my mid-20s because I want to have two kids before I'm 30, because 30 is so old. It's like back then 30 was just ancient. It's like, well, clearly I've got to get married and have kids before I'm 30. And so I developed this life plan, if you like, just for fun. And then I sort of went on with my life. And along the way, I started having boyfriends, and look, I've dated some lovely men. I don't want to say anything bad about them, but they just weren't the one, and the relationships didn't last. And so as time got on, I started feeling a little bit, I guess, disheartened, and watching your friends start settling down and then being single a lot. So I guess it was not something I was ever prepared for, because you're kind of led to believe from society and from your family and friends that I guess being successful was being in a relationship. And I know that's a hard thing to think that we actually instill in our young kids, but we do, and so every woman gets a man at the end of a movie, at every love story, the woman gets the man. It doesn't matter how many hurdles are in front of her. And so subconsciously we're led to believe that that's a success. And so as I was getting later into my 20s and I was single and I was just really struggling. And so as I then got into my 30s, it became harder and harder. And my friends, they just they felt it was my fault. I know that's a hard thing as well for my friends now to look back and say, oh, we didn't mean to be like that. But yes, I got into my 30s, and I guess I was getting, horrible word, but a little bit desperate, because I'm like, well, I've got a biological clock and it's ticking. And so I'd get to the point where I'd meet a guy and I'm like, well, we need to be engaged within 6 months. It's like, it's like, okay, well, I've got this timeline. It's like, yes, but I'm past 30. I've passed my deadline. It's like, okay, so I've only got this amount of time. So if we don't get together now, like yesterday, well, then we're not going to meet my timeline. And so, yeah, it just became harder and harder. And interestingly, as I got into my mid-30s, meeting men became so much harder, which is fair enough. And I do empathize with a lot of women out there who are in their late 30s who want to have kids and haven't met someone to do that, because I guess because you want it so badly, you're chasing a dream. You're not necessarily chasing that particular guy, and they feel that, so it sort of goes both ways. They opt for women that aren't so have a short time frame. So yeah, it became harder and harder. And then so as I got into my late 30s, I just decided that was it. I needed to have children, and if I didn't take action and do it on my own, then it was never going to happen. And so I decided to become a single mother by choice, and here I am today.
Awesome. Well, here we are. Well, you are, you've got your son as well, so it's not just you now, so that's great.
Exactly.
That's such an interesting story that's so relatable to, because we all grow up thinking that. And I was just thinking, like, how cool would it be if there was a Disney movie where, without the man, where the princess just becomes the queen on her own,
Exactly. And you can see in Hollywood they've tried it, but even then they still get the man just at the end. They can't help themselves.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting, and I love that pressure. Like, I remember at high school, for me, it was the same thing. Like, I need to find someone or else the world's over, and that's just at high school.
Yes.
And what was funny was that I met my partner literally the week I finished high school. So
you just got all this pressure on. Your life plan was ticked. It's all good.
Yeah, but it's like I'd put all this pressure on, and I was like, oh no, I finished high school and didn't have a serious boyfriend. And then was, as soon as I took that pressure off myself, I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to uni now. I don't want a boyfriend at uni.
Yeah.
And then within a week.
And then they arrive.
But it doesn't happen for everyone, but that's fine, because you can be successful without a man or without a partner.
Exactly. And like, that's a message I want to send, is that I've actually had a fantastic life, and more than half of my adult life has been single. And a lot of my opportunities came to move overseas, to travel overseas, and to progress my career. A lot of those opportunities came because I was single. I didn't necessarily chase them, and instead of having a relationship, they just happened to arrive at times when I was on my own, and I could actually take up those opportunities because I was on my own. So it's not, you've got to look at different perspectives.
Yeah, and I think it's important too to note that even if you are in a relationship, that you still should be successful on your own. Like, you should still be an independent person. You need to both be successful and happy in yourself, and bring that to the table. Don't rely on each other.
Exactly.
So I think that's important to note as well. So tell us more about your journey to becoming a single mother by choice. Once you made that decision, how long did it take? And
so there was a lot of interestingly, when I look back now, it doesn't seem like a lot of time, but when I was going through it, it seemed like a long time. And so I'd gotten to the point where I was in my late 30s, and I'd never done internet dating up until that point, because I always felt like I was shopping for a man. It's like, well, I know they do that nowadays, and that's okay. And they've got, do I want red, green, brown, or blue? It's okay. I'll take both or all. It's okay. Yeah. And you can do that online, and that's the way that it is today. But back, when I was going through this, none of my friends had actually, only one of my friends had gone through internet dating, and she had some horror stories. And so I was always reluctant to go down that path. But I was in my late 30s. I'm like, well, I don't have a choice. I have to actually do internet dating. So it's like, all right, quick, do internet dating. And I just met the most disastrous man. And so, yes, I've had some lovely boyfriends, but this one was just wrong. And it's like, and so I came out of that, and I'm like, if this is all that's left, I'm sorry, I'm done. Right? If this is all that's left out there to take, then that's it. I quit. No more. I can't do it. And so that was, maybe I needed that, because it was actually in the January that I'd gone to see the fertility specialist, and I thought, okay, that's it. I just need to buy some time. I just need some insurance. I just need some time. So I thought, I'll freeze my eggs. And I went, oh, great, I'll go and freeze my eggs. So I went to the fertility specialist, and he was such a lovely guy. He was Kiwi, and he was a lovely, lovely doctor. And so I went in there, and he's like, oh, look, that's great. Freezing eggs is great. However, it's the biggest cell of your body and it crystallizes and you don't really have a great success rate. And I'm like, oh, what? He's like, oh, it's 7%. I'm like, 7%? I'm a mathematician. I'm like, that's like, how many failed pregnancies am I going to have before I have a live birth? And I'm in my head doing all the sums. I'm going, no, I'm in my late 30s. I can't do that. And so I just came out of there really disheartened. However, he actually said to me, have you thought about doing this on your own? I'm like, well, no. And I'd never actually thought about doing it on my own until that lovely doctor had said to me, oh, by the way, there's plenty of women that actually do this. They get into their late 30s. And he was just so nice, so nice. He definitely was he was there right at the right time, with the right advice. And so I came out of there thinking, you are a lovely doctor, but no thanks. It's like, thanks, but no thanks. I came in here to freeze my eggs. I didn't come in here to have some stranger's baby, but that's lovely to know. And I know 7% is not an insurance plan. And when I came out of there, that's when I did internet dating. I walked out of there and went, oh my goodness, what have I got left? I've only got internet dating. Quick, get online. And bad move, by the way. And ended up with this disaster. But I think I needed that to actually then process the fact that, look, don't settle for something really bad for the sake of what you want. There's other options. There's other ways to get what you want. And it doesn't need to depend on a bad relationship for the rest of your life. You don't have to be in a bad relationship for the rest of your life to be able to give you children. And that was really important. Having said that, I still needed to process a lot of things. And so I had all these beliefs in my head that, it was failure. I hadn't met someone and to have children with, so I felt like I had failed. And so I really had to come to terms with the fact that I wasn't failing and that I actually was just creating my own path and I was creating my own happily ever after. And so it took some time to process the belief changes and accepting that this is actually what I want to do, and this is actually the best thing to do, and this is better than what I would have done.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I love that. And I love that you got that, the wake up calls come when you need them, even if it's not when you want them, but that's great. And it's amazing.
Planted it.
Yeah. And it's great that, that doctor planted that seed for you and it all grew from there. So, I guess that kind of leads me into my next question as, once you decided, were you always confident in that decision or was there lots of doubt along the way after you kind of made your decision?
Yeah, so once I'd actually made the decision, I was fine. But making the decision was difficult. So, when I say difficult, it required a lot of processing. Had I not had that last failed relationship with the dad, it may have been different. And what I found was I went onto a forum. So I went onto a few forums. So there's actually some beautiful forums out there for women that are thinking of doing this. So if you are looking to do this, please go and do some research because there is some wonderful information out there where there is no stone left unturned. And so I went onto a few different forums and I found that there were women out there who just couldn't give up the dream of finding the one and having a baby and accepting having a baby on their own and seeing their journey where they got into their 40s and they just left it too late. They had no eggs left and they couldn't get pregnant, and seeing the sadness of other people who just couldn't let go was really heartbreaking, but at the same time scary enough to go, okay, I have to commit to this. And there's a reality factor. There's a medical reality. And then another thing that the doctor had said to me was that, unfortunately, in Hollywood, a lot of women have, there are women out there who have their babies late, but a lot of them would have donor eggs and people don't know that. So they have this assumption that you can just keep having babies. Yeah. But it's highly likely that they've got donor eggs. And so it's just a medical reality. And so once I went onto those forums and I saw what was involved, that gave me confidence. So that gave me, it's like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And they were inspirational. It was so nice to see these women that had pioneered this and gone through this and were willing to tell their stories. It was so nice. And so then that gave me the confidence to go, you know what, if they can do it, I can do it. So once I made the decision and I'd gone through all that information, processed everything, changed my beliefs, I decided that was it. And once I made the decision, I made it on my own without my friends and family. Yeah. The reason being is that everyone gives you advice based on their experience. You know, their values, their beliefs, their life experiences, their risk profile. They give you the advice, and they give it with love. You know, they do give you with the best of intentions, but it's not your journey. You know, and that's great. That's lovely advice, but you're not in my shoes. You know, I'm sitting here in my late 30s. My biological clock is about to explode, and I don't want to end up the rest of my life with a dud laying next to me. You know, it's like you know, but I want kids, you know, I want kids.
Yeah.
And so that was my reality. So once I decided and made the decision, I didn't then allow people to question it. I sort of just put it out there and went, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it, and this is what I'm doing, to kind of cut people off from questioning it, because I knew that if people started undermining that, it might have, you know, been a little bit more difficult. So I just owned it.
Yeah, that's great. And which leads perfectly into the next question of how did you deal with the backlash, and has it gotten easier with time, and have people become more accepting?
Yeah, and I expected a lot of backlash. And so I only got one, and he was quite a religious man, and that's okay. Everyone's got their own beliefs and their own views and values.
Yeah.
And he felt that, you know, women doing this on their own potentially was diminishing men's role in society. And that's fair enough. That's a, you know, fair enough belief and opinion to hold. I was sitting in the shoes of a woman who wanted children and didn't have a partner and had this in front of me. So, you know, I had a different perspective, and you know, my journey was very different. And so I took on board his comments and went, okay, that's fine. I acknowledge that, but this is what I'm doing. For the most part, people were just really interested. And so I'd tell them, and they'd say, oh, my niece is going through that. Do you think you can talk to her? Oh, hang on. My daughter's, you know, late 30s. Can I talk to you more about that? Oh, my sister's in America. Do you think you can give her a call? You know, and so it was actually, what I found was there are so many women that were in the same shoes as me, so many that were struggling on their own, because you feel like you are on your own, because all your friends around you, they're all coupled. And so in your own little ecosystem, you feel alone. But in actual fact, there's a lot of women in all these little ecosystems feeling alone, but you're not, you know. So there's plenty of women out there in the same shoes.
That's awesome. And you said you have a son, right?
Yes, I do. He's 10 now.
Oh, awesome. Well, I can do the math on that one, but yeah.
Exactly.
So did you get backlash in terms of like having a son without a male role model and all that sort of?
Yeah. Look, there was questions about that. Yeah, and look, I've made a conscious decision. Like not all of them, but most of my friends are married, and they've got some lovely husbands, and they've all stepped up, you know, and they've said, you know, if you need us to do anything, we'll be there. And that's really nice. And so there is males in society, you know, in my group of friends and family, that have put their hand up and basically said, look, if you need me to teach him something, I'll do it, you know. And so that's been really nice.
No, that's great. You've got that support, because I feel like that comes up.
And I was conscious of making sure of it, you know. I was certainly conscious of making sure that he would have exposure to men to teach him things along the way. And
which is interesting. I remember seeing a documentary on you know, two mothers raising up a son and trying to keep him open and saying, like, here's some pirate dress ups, but here's some princess dress ups. And you know, people are so worried that he's not going to have a male influence, and then they're like, he will dress up in the princess stuff, but he actually chooses the pirate stuff. You know, he does go for the male stuff. Often, and they're like, you just, nature's nature. You know, he'll choose what he wants to choose.
Exactly, they'll find their way. And they do. And my son never liked cars. You know, people would buy him cars for Christmas. He's like, no, give me the paint. I'd rather do art. You know. And so each their own. So you just allow them to be, you know.
No, that's brilliant. So what's been your proudest achievement so far? I mean, aside from your son, but in terms of everything.
And it's interesting. So my proudest achievement would have to be with my career, my work. And and it's so interesting looking back on it, because I've had a really wonderful career, and ironic, and it's a bit, I guess it's difficult for saying this to other women, but I was lucky enough to have those opportunities to expand my career and move overseas with my job because I was single, and like I didn't choose it, I didn't chase it. And so it's not like I was choosing to have a career over having a relationship. That never happened. And in hindsight, I probably would have gone the other way. And so I'm glad in hindsight that I was single, because when the opportunities presented themselves, I took them because I had no one else. It's like, well, I'm single. I'm going to Greece. I'm going to live in Greece for a year. I'm going to England for a year, and I'm going to work overseas. And so really for me, I've had some wonderful experiences with my work. Amazing. And so, I've worked on major events, Olympics and Commonwealth Games, and it's just been fantastic. So working overseas has been, a wonderful life experience for me.
Yeah. And what is your career for everyone listening?
Oh, I'm a civil engineer. And and so I'm a civil engineer, but I do mostly traffic and transport, so transport planning. And so it's been really nice. And even then I stumbled across that because I like maths. And and it was actually ironically a boy that, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my careers advisor said, oh, you got a maths, go to these seminars. And I went to these women in engineering seminars, and the nicest looking boy was a civil engineer. I'm like, oh, there you go, tick box. So, that's what led me there. It's okay. It didn't matter how I made the decision. I made a decision and I got there. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. So what's one message you want to get across to all the single women out there, or even women in relationships?
Yeah, look, I guess it's courage, having the courage to be who you want to be and live the life you want to live. And so, confidence and courage to me go hand in hand, and courage can be the smallest amount of courage, but just having that courage to go, you know what, this is really scary. I've not done this before. Just to have the courage to have some conviction to just take that next step, and the most amazing life experiences will start landing. You'll start opening up yourself just by having the courage to, get off the couch. For me, it was like, if I didn't have the courage to get off the couch and stop pining for the love of a man, I wouldn't have been to 70 countries, because traveling on your own was so hard, because I had this embedded notion that you do that with your life partner. So it's like, well, my life partner hasn't happened, but I want to travel. Everyone's going with their partners. It's like, yeah, but I want to travel. And I stumbled across tours, so for me, doing these adventure style tours was brilliant, because you feel safe within the tour, but you're able to travel as a single person. You meet all these people. And so having the courage to do that first, and then once you've done it once, it's like, oh, I can do this. And then that gives you the confidence, and then you've got the confidence to go, you know what, I've done that before, I can do it again. And so just, having the courage to get off the couch and live your life,
Yeah, that's great. And I think it reminds me too that I've gone traveling before by myself while being in a relationship, and people are, and your partner going with you on that. I said, well, no, I want to go on it. He doesn't want to go on it, so I'll just go. And he can go do his own thing that he wants to do, and
exactly, and that's all good. And then you'll come back afterwards, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and we have travelled together, but sometimes we travel apart because we can. So it's all about breaking that stigma of how it should be. So which is
exactly.
Yeah. And on the topic of traveling, since you love traveling so much, what is your favorite country to visit, and have you taken your child with you?
Well, my son has been to 20 countries and he's 10. Okay, so that might give you an indication that I did not. I love traveling, and I didn't stop. So once I had him, I took him to the Rugby World Cup in New Zealand when he was about 4 months old. So come on, we're going over the ditch. Come on. And so he got his passport when he was like a little bubba. And he's onto his third, I think. So, so 20 countries. And so we're just a good little team. And my favourite country, that's a really hard one.
top
is so
3 then.
difficult. Yeah, look, I have a soft spot for England. I guess maybe because I've got lots of friends over there. I love the contrast between Australia and England in that it's so old. It's so
Same.
quaint.
Yeah.
So it's so quaint. It's so old. It's so small. They have small hills, small trees, small houses, small rivers. Yeah, it's just quaint and different, and I've got lovely friends over there. So I do go back to England a lot.
Yeah, no, I'd love going to England too. I found, same thing. It's crazy how like similar the culture is, but so different. It's great. And it's like, I love it. I feel like they're the grown up proper versions of us down under here. And I noticed how like, like the green it's like a very dark greenery over there, whereas it's quite bright and vibrant over here. So I find England very fascinating too. And that every city or every town, village, whatever you call it, you go to, they're all the same, but just in a different stone, like whatever the local stone is. But they're all the same, just in a different color stone. And I'm like, this is.
And they've all got different accents. It's like you fit into Victoria. Your countryside fits into one of our smallest states, and yet you've got all these different accents. And we're one massive big continent. And we all speak the same. It's funny.
Yeah, I think the landmass. I don't know if it's England or just might be all of Great Britain. The landmass is very similar to New Zealand, I think. Obviously just a different shape, but it's crazy thinking the population is like 10 times the population. Which is crazy. Exactly. Well, thank you for sharing about your story. Now we finish with same way every week where we ask questions about confidence, because that's what we're here to do. So what does confidence mean to you?
Yeah, look, confidence, like I said before, confidence and courage are very intertwined. And it's just having that conviction to do what you want to do and be who you want to be. And that can be so small, and so, having the confidence to, it might be doing something for the first time. And if you're younger, it might be just hopping on a plane. Having the confidence to do something that you haven't done before is actually having the conviction to actually act on your dreams and your desires. And so, and your passions, so it's just, having that courage to act.
Yeah, that's a great summary. I definitely think they go hand in hand too. That I think of being courage and consistent action builds confidence. That you've got to consistently be courageous and step outside your comfort zone to build the confidence. So I love that you brought that up. And how do you help people build their confidence through sharing your story?
Yeah, and I guess it's people like to see something done before, so it's showing that it can be done. And so for me, I actually got a lot of confidence from going to the forums and seeing women that had done, being a single mother on, and seeing that for years in the past. And that to me was like, well, it's been done before. So you've got that evidence building. So it's like proving to, those that need it, you've validated it for them. So, if I can do it, you can do it, and these are the issues that I went through. So I can help you and guide you through those issues. And that's exactly what the forum did for me. It's like they were willing to put up their biggest fears and their issues and how they overcome them. That gave me the confidence to go, okay, well, if you've done it, I can do it. And then if I've done it, then other people who want to do this, they can do it. And so it's just sharing of the knowledge and sharing of that journey, and anything along the way. I don't mind answering any question. Like, seriously, I've had some very interesting gynecological questions. I'm happy to share, because at the end of the day, if that means someone's going to have the confidence to go and do, what this is what they want to do, then of course I will share that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And of course, now you've got your book that people can read and help build their confidence with that too, which is awesome. What would you say to someone who's wanting to build their confidence but doesn't know where to start?
Yeah, look, I actually think one thing I was taught, that it's something that I now do with my son, is that a lot of people don't make decisions. And so if you can start making decisions, even the smallest decision, it might be what to eat for dinner. Someone might say to you, what do you want to eat for dinner? You go, oh, it doesn't matter. Well, don't do that. Start making decisions at the smallest level, because if you start making decisions at the smallest level, what music do you want to listen to? Just make a decision. And then you get the confidence then to say, oh, I can make decisions. And it doesn't matter when my decisions are wrong, because there is no wrong. You just make it right. And so start little, start deciding what to wear, or deciding, instead of asking other people, oh, what should I wear? Or how does this look good? Yeah. Just make those decisions yourself and build that confidence. And I've seen some, women that all am I eating off a menu. It's like, well, you need to start building at the lower level. And then the other thing is just information. Information is amazing. The more, if you want to do something, just there's a wealth of information, on Google. there's information at your fingertips nowadays. It's not always been there, but it's there now.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. And I love that, starting small and growing from there, because you're right. There's so many people that can't even decide what they want for dinner. It's, oh, no, you choose. I don't want to put you out or anything. It's like, just say, oh, actually, I kind of feel like chicken today. How do you feel about chicken?
Exactly. Make a decision that's small. Start small.
Yeah, that's great. What's something you know now that you wish you knew when you were younger?
Yeah. One thing I've learned along my journey is that beliefs are a choice. I wish I had known that a belief is a choice. So I now choose my beliefs, right? So I can choose to believe that what I'm doing is the best thing. I can choose to believe I'm a good person. I can choose. There are so many things you can choose to believe. And when I was younger, I believed what I was told, right? So it's like, okay, success is finding a man and settling down and having children. Well, I don't choose to believe that anymore. I choose to believe that my version of my journey is exactly right for me and is just as much a success as anyone else. And so once you believe that, life is different, perspectives are different. And I didn't know that I could choose my beliefs. I didn't know that. I was so persuaded and led by other people, and what they were telling me was right, that you don't question it. And it wasn't until now that I'm older and having had this journey, it's like, well, that's your belief and that's great. And you can have that belief and that serves you, but that belief doesn't serve me. And that belief doesn't serve my life journey. So I've got my own beliefs and they serve me, and beliefs are a choice.
Yeah.
So,
it's brilliant. Great advice. So what is the best, apart from that, what is the best advice you've been given, or your favorite quote to live by?
Look, that's a hard question, because I don't know what my favorite is. I've been given some fantastic information along the way.
What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Probably. Oh, well, I love Yoda. Okay, so when you're talking about quotes, it's like, use the force. That's the first thing that comes to mind. It's like, But look, I guess maybe because I like Yoda, it's like, believe that you can do something. Believe in yourself. Believe that you can do this. Use the force.
No, that's great. Great advice. And what's your favorite book or podcast in terms of confidence and personal development?
Look, one of the best I like audiobooks. Just in the car, I'm driving so much, so I just love audiobooks. And one of the best ones I listened to was The Courage to Be Disliked. And
I haven't heard of that one.
And look, I've written it. I'm going to get the name wrong, right? But it's Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitaki Koga. So I'm going to get that completely mispronounced, but it's a beautiful story of a wise old man that talks to the young mentor, and it's some really nice lessons in that. So The Courage to Be Disliked.
That's awesome. I like them. I wrote that down. I need to look that up. So it's great. Yeah. And in the same context, do you have any favorite people you like to follow online? Something that would, brighten up people's news feeds?
Oh, look, I'm going to fail with that question, because I don't really have a lot of time to focus on one. And so I'm always just Googling, like, what do I want to feel like listening to now? So, so I probably can't. I don't
No,
really
you're
have
fine.
one.
You don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. Some people like are like, oh yeah, follow these people. Like these people are great, and other people are like, I don't know. I just kind of let whatever
Google.
pops up on my newsfeed pop up.
Exactly.
So that's fine. So where can people find you or connect with you?
Louisapateman.com is my website, and you can subscribe or you can just send messages there. And if you want to get a copy of my book, it's available in audio as well as ebook or available as a hardcover. But so you can get that on any online store really. And so I've got my website and I've got an Instagram handle as well, Louisa Pateman. So yeah,
all the places. And did you do the audio yourself?
I did.
Awesome.
And I just thought, well, I'm Australian and I don't really want an American accent telling my Australian story. Yeah. And so I was like, I'll stick to the Australian. And so, it was a really good learning experience.
That's cool, I guess, too, because you would have read it back to yourself in your head and like you have the voice of yourself reading it to yourself. So, I can totally relate to that.
But the hours are involved in doing that you think you know it, but you don't know it word for word, even though you've written it.
Yeah.
Like, hang on, I forgot an and, I forgot a V, I forgot an A. Hang on. So
that's great. Do you have any final words or anything else you want to share before we go?
Oh, look, just for all the women out there, whether you're single or whether you're in relationships, just have the courage to, live your life, but have the courage to be single. If you're in a relationship and you don't feel like you're getting what you deserve or what you want from life, have the courage to be single. And if you are single, have the courage to live your life and get off the couch. Don't pine for a man. Just get out there and live your life. And there is a wonderful life out there with some wonderful life experiences. You just need to have the confidence to just make the next step and take some action.
No, that's brilliant advice. I've definitely seen people who have stayed in relationships too long because they're like, I don't know how to be single, so I'll just stay here. But no, you're fine. But that's all good. Well, thank you so much for sharing. That's been a wonderful chat. I hope lots of people have learned something or taken away something from this. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. And thank you, Louisa, for being here. And we will see you all next week on the next episode.
Thanks, Bronte. Thank you.